and welcome back to Section 5 Tula Pink's Butterfly Quilt at the Texas Quilt Barn. We are going to have such a good time today. We are going to be making intersection blocks and a floating cross, stripes, half triangles. Oh my goodness, it is going to be so much fun. I want you to kind of make sure that you are well hydrated because we're going to be doing a little bit of a marathon. This is kind of a involved block. We'll ramp up as section 5, we'll do section 6, and then we'll kind of take it easy again. But this is kind of the peak. Probably 5 and 6 are going to be the ones that are the most involved. We can do this. This is not difficult. It just is, it's a lot. So take your time, break it into manageable chunks, and like I always say, if you're ready, I'm ready. So let's get started. Our first block is the intersection block, and we're actually going to be doing it in 2 colorways. So I'll lay out the first, and then I'll go ahead and sew the second because you don't need to see me sew both sets of blocks. But let's look at the orange colorway first, okay? So the first thing we're going to do, let me scooch this over here to the side. First thing we're going to do is find our cornerstone, which happens to be that beautiful print. And then we're going to just lay out the fabric so that you can kind of see what it looks like. And remember, you're going to be doing 2 intersection blocks, which then means you're going to be doing 8 of these small log cabins, right? Okay, here is our main street right there. And then this will be our side street, so to speak, if that makes sense. So there you go. That's what the first one is going to look like in this particular colorway. Do definitely refer to your supplemental guide because that will really help you determine which fabrics are which in this. Okay, let me go ahead and I'll slide these fabrics aside. And now let's look at it in the second colorway, the one that I'm going to actually sew for you today. So again, our cornerstone block, there it is. And we're going to be making 2 of these as well. So that same thing, it requires us to make 8 of these small log cabins. And then there's our main street and our side street. Okay, so, and here's our other side street. There it is right there. So let's go over to the sewing machine and we'll start piecing this block together. I've got my fabrics here and I'm going to put my cornerstone, just like I always do, in the right-hand side. I'll flip it over and I'll line up those pieces of fabric. And we are ready to go. And just like I always remind you every month, we are using, at least I'm using a 2.5 stitch length and the Aurifil Dove. I'm sewing with an accurate 2.5 stitch length and an accurate 1/4 inch seam, as stated in the pattern. And I'm sure you've either discovered you love using a seam roller or not so much. That's fine either way. Oops. Okay, now I've got my one piece on. I'll slide my other piece underneath, and then I'm ready to go ahead and flip down. Line up those beautiful pieces of fabric. These are beautiful colors, right? And it's interesting in this particular colorway that we are only using 3 fabrics and not 4. Because, you know, up until now we've used, on our intersection block, last month we used 4 colors, and this month we're using 4 colors in one colorway, but then 3 colors in the other colorway, in the second one. So pretty. I'll flip it over and I'll open it up and we'll definitely relocate that. How does that look? Pretty awesome, right? Okay, I'll slide my next fabric over. There we go. And then after I roll this one open, I have one more to go. Now, when I'm done, I'm going to go and I'll sew the other 3. And then we'll want to go and press all of these open nicely at the ironing board. And then I'll flip down my last piece. And then I'll definitely want to trim them up based on the directions in our pattern. So I'll definitely, oops, there we go. Didn't get it close enough under the presser foot. Okay, let's take a look at that and see what this looks like. We'll do it the same block 7 more times till we have the 8 blocks that we need for our 2 yellow colorways or citron colorways. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. I've got all my pieces for this beautiful yellow intersection, and I've got my main street headed from 12 to 6 o'clock. That works good. I have my side streets here positioned at 3 and 9. And now I'm going to go ahead and lay out my blocks just like I did last month, making sure that the cornerstones are in the outermost corner, whether that's a right or a left, depending on which way you're headed. Okay, so that's what that's going to look like. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing we did last month, where we'll flip over and sew to the side streets first, either on the right or the left hand side, whichever one is your favorite. Flip over and sew on the side streets, and then we'll have both complete units, and we'll sew it to this the main street that goes right down the middle of the block. So let's go make that happen. Now that I'm back at my machine, I always like to double check the position of my fabric, because you know something crazy could happen between the time you lay it out over at your table and when you get back to your sewing machine. So always make sure, and especially because these fabrics are the same, it could be a little deceiving. So your cornerstone is in the upper right and your cornerstone is in the bottom right. Okay, that looks great. I'm going to go ahead and slide the bottom one off to the side for just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and, since I don't have any seams here, I'm just going to go ahead and flip my side street up onto my sewing machine, or on my sewing table, and I will line everything up, and let's see how that goes. Got my leader ender going. Sometimes once I get here, I think, oh no, I need to reposition just a little bit. There's nothing wrong in ripping out a seam or two, but if I don't have to, I don't want to. That looks pretty great. Okay, that side's finished. And now what I'll do, I could go over to the iron, but I think I'll wait for just a sec. I'll open that up. I'll look at the position, upper right, and now lower right. That looks great. I'll go ahead and flip my small log cabin up on top of the side street and go ahead and line everything up. Looks pretty great. Get that all lined up. It looks good. Very happy with that side. Now I can go over and take that over to the ironing board, but because I'm here, I could just go ahead and lay out my left-hand side, upper left corner, and then this piece would go in the bottom left corner. Let me slide that to the side for just a second. I'm going to go ahead, since I'm chain piecing, I will slide this piece on top, flip it over, line it up. before I got started today, I thought it's a good idea to sit down and kind of look and make sure my machine is nice and clean. I think it always behaves better when it's clean. Don't you think? I do. Okay, that's good. I like it. And now I'll come back and get my leader ender, and I can go ahead and clip those apart because I'm going to go iron that one in just a sec. Okay, so let's see. Okay, bottom. And it'll be okay if it flipped to the bottom right, because think about that. Remember how when you flip them around, that was my right side. Now it can be my left. So now I've got this one, and I need to slide this piece over here. That's not the right way, is it? That's the right way, because I need my cornerstones in the outermost corner. So I'm going to flip this over on top of it. I started cleaning my machine. I thought, okay, time to change needles, time to make sure my bobbin's full, machine is clean. It always seems like it just performs so much better. It's happier when it's clean, I feel like. Okay, now I'll go take it over to the iron, and I'll meet you back here in just a sec. All right, I'm ready to sew the last couple seams for the intersection block, and I'm just kind of laying it out here so that you can see. I've got my cornerstones in the upper and lower left-hand corners. I've got my main street going down the middle, but I got a problem over here. My cornerstones are in the wrong place. So if I just swing this around, that looks like it's supposed to, correct? So I've got the cornerstones where they need to be, and now I'm ready to sew. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my left-hand cornerstones out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and do just this piece, but I am going to go ahead and flip my log cabin or my side street over on top of my main street, because I have seams and I don't want to get anything messed up, right? So let's go ahead and line up these pieces. Looking good. Got my leader ender in there. Well, just when you think you have it all lined up and you're like, no, not so much. Oops, sorry. I was thinking about how when you make a block like this, and then you kind of can change the entire look of it just by simply, adding some additional pieces. And instead of being a log cabin, it is a intersection block. How cool is that? Who knew? Who knew? And when you look at it now, you're like, aw, Stacia, I figured that out. But when you first look at the pattern, you think to yourself, I don't know, this looks really daunting, doesn't it? And you're like, I got this. I got this. Sewing along with my friend Stacia, and we're good. Okay, almost ready. I got that side sewn. I'm going to zoom back into the regular position now. Let's see. Zoom in. Okay, that's better, I think. And now let's try the other side. And once we're on the other side, then we have completed one of our intersection blocks, and we are ready. So that's the one side. And now I have this side. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my left side like I did last month. I'm just going to go ahead and my scissors. I'm going to flip the left side over on top of the block, swing it around, and now I'm ready to line everything back up. It's a little harder because the piece is longer. It's the whole 10.5 inches. it's not perfect yet, but I'll get it, once it's anchored under the needle, I'll get it straightened out a little bit more. There it goes. And now, I just get it lined up down here at the bottom where you can't see my fingers. Sorry about that. And now we're ready to go, go, go. Checking along the way, my accurate 1/4 inch. I want to stay strong. I want to make sure it stays straight. I don't wobble or wiggle. I mean, it does happen, right? But I'm going to try not to. Okay, so we're doing 2 in this yellow colorway, and then we'll do 2 in the orange colorway as well, and then we'll be done with our intersection blocks. So be sure that you go back and you press your seams open, and then you do still want to go look and square this block up, because you want to make sure that it's the accurate size based on the instructions in our book. And there is our gorgeous yellow colorway for our intersection block. Y'all, well done. Okay, let's go work on that orange one, and then when we get back, let's take a look and see how they go. And here we are with both of our beautiful colorways. So I've got the yellow colorway that is just gorgeous. I mean, it's, you know, you're thinking yellow, I don't know, but it is beautiful. And then this is our second orange colorway. So set those aside. You've got them squared up. Set them aside. You'll need 1 of each for your right side, and you'll need 1 of each for the left side. So, oh my goodness, they are beautiful. So you're probably thinking, oh gosh, Stacia, not again. You're showing us half square triangles. This is month 5. We've got this down. This will probably be the last month that I do demonstrate for you the half square triangles, but only because we're going to be doing flying geese. And I want to just point out a difference between doing the flying geese and the half square triangles. So I've got my ruler, and I'm laying the line down so that there's a point in the middle that I line up with the point at 12 o'clock and the point at 6 o'clock, and I drew the lines just like you can see. And that's going to be important to us because I'm going to go lay this down, and I'm going to sew directly on top of that of those sewn lines, directly on top, and I will then cut and press the seams open just like I have every month, and I'll end up with a beautiful collection of half square triangles. And some of them will be, oops, I don't have them all sorted correctly, but that's okay. You are going to forgive me, correct? So we have 5 different sets of half square triangles this month. Some of them you'll use this month, and some of them we'll set aside and use for next month. And some of them I think were left over from, the begonia was left over from last month. So we're going to do these. I'll finish up these 2, but that is important because we're going to get ready to do the flying geese. So let me go do that. I'll finish up this half square triangle, and then I'll trim it up. And then let's do flying geese next. Okay, I've got my fabrics laid out here, the ones that measured them out just like I was supposed to, you know, on page 10 of our instructions. And so these solids are going to go with the floral rectangles, and the square florals are going to go with the solids, if that makes sense. Okay, then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the solids. I'll take the solids first. Let's do the solids first. I'm going to set these rectangles aside, and I'm going to take the solid, and what we're going to do is just take, and we're going to draw a line, and I'm going to do my best to describe this to you so that this will help you. You're going to lay your ruler down on your square, and instead of being exactly in the point like we were before, I'm going to scooch over just a little bit to the left. Since I'm right-handed, I'm going to scooch over just a little bit to the left. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to compensate for the thickness of the barrel of my pen. And because what I want to do is I want to draw a line directly from this corner at 12 o'clock down to this corner at 6 o'clock. And if I put my ruler exactly on that point, then I'll be just slightly to the right, and I don't want to do that. So if that makes sense, I'm just going to compensate just a little bit for the barrel, and I'm going to just draw the line. Oops, I better hold on to my fabric if I press all the way down. And I'm just going to draw a line from 12 to 6. So when you look at it with the ruler removed, you can see that the line starts up here at the point at 12 and comes right down here to 6. I'll try it one more time. And I'm going to, just like I said, I'm going to scooch over just ever so slightly just to kind of compensate for the barrel of my pen. I'll come and I'll draw my line. And now I have a line that goes directly from the 12 o'clock point to the 6 o'clock point, okay? You want to go ahead and repeat that step for every single one of your solid squares and for all of your printed squares. So once you have that done, grab all your squares and your rectangles, and we'll meet over at my sewing machine. Okay, let's go do that. Now what we're going to do is just match up our fabric so that we know which fabrics go with which. So the square, like I said, the squares with the print go with the solid. I'm going to slide that over to the side for a minute. And then our rectangular print goes with our solid squares. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to change out my foot because I'm going to be sewing directly on top of the fabric and not on the side with my 1/4 inch seam. So let me change out my foot, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I want to show you something very specific. We're getting ready to sew these flying geese. And if you're a flying geese expert, then you can just fast forward through this. But sometimes people need a little bit of help, so that's what I thought I would try and help you with. We're going to be sewing our squares onto these rectangles. And so based on our directions, I think the first side it shows you is to do the left-hand side. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do my best to line it up, and hopefully I'm not making you too sick by being so close, but let's just see how it goes. Okay, and I need to make sure that this piece lines up all the way around, top, bottom, left, and right. Everything lines up, because in just a second we're going to be sewing this piece on the square onto the rectangle. Okay, so I've got my leader ender in here, and I'm going to start my seam. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you can pin if you want to, but I haven't had a need to do that yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the line that I drew just to the right. I'm going to do the line to the left of that line that's right here on my presser foot. See that line right there on my presser foot? I want to put this purple line that I drew just to the left of that, okay, if that makes sense. So, okay, I kind of changed a little bit of an angle here so that you can see. But what I want to do, I've got my fabric lined up on top, my square lined up on top of the rectangle. It is pretty accurate there. It needs to be as accurate as you can possibly get it. I've sewn my my leader ender so I can catch those threads, and it is important to do that because if you don't, you're going to munch up the corner of this fabric in just a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that purple right to the left, not underneath, but right to the left. It's just ever so, you know, because you basically want to sew to the right of that of the line that you drew. The best way I've described it to friends in the past is just a whisker to the right of the line that you drew. Just a whisker. Some people call it a whisker, some people call it a thread. You decide, and you're just going to take your time, and you are literally just going to sew. Oh, do you see that corner turn up? Leader ender is my friend. So let's see if the corner turned out okay. If it didn't, it's okay. I can rip out. It's not the end of the world. And I'm just literally sewing straight next to, and right even as I come off the fabric, right next to the right of that line. Okay, so let's see. Did my corner? No, my corner's okay. It's fine. I just laid it out. Just good old thumb, right? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is because when we open this up, you can see that once I press my seam open, it looks like that fabric never even had anything sewn onto it. It is a consistent parallel line to the plate. See how the line on my plate right there? It's a consistent parallel line. Once I press that open, it will be beautiful. And that's what you want every single time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors, and I'm going to go ahead and trim this little dog ear off right here. I'm going to trim that off at a 1/4 inch seam. If it's not exactly perfect, don't stress over it. Just put that little dog ear aside. Okay, and now you're going to want to press that seam open as best you can. So you can use your seam roller, your iron, whatever you need to do. Okay, and I'm doing it right. You're getting an up close and personal view, right? Okay, there's my piece. And now what I'm going to do is take the next square and I'm going to lay it right over here in the exact same place. I'm going to lay it down. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that the fabric is lined up at the top and the bottom, left, right. Right now you can see it's kind of off the fabric, so that's not okay. I need to really make sure I scooch it over. Very technical term there, scooch it over. My seam is open on the back side, that's good. And you can see that it looks good. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start my leader ender. Place my foot down just with the line, the center line, just to the right of the line I drew, just to the right. And I'm trying to be very specific. Sometimes I mess up my right and left, so I'm trying to be very specific. The purple line I drew is to the left, and the line on my presser foot is to the right, okay, if that makes sense. Because I just want to sew outside, considering this is the outside and this is the inside. I want to sew just a whisker to the right or a thread to the right. So let's try it. And in this one, definitely I don't do pedal to the metal. I take my time. I do everything I can to be as accurate as I can, because I really do want to come out in that corner. Okay, I've come out. I've zoomed back out so that you don't have to look so closely at my hands. Sorry about that. Let me grab some scissors to trim that off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, if I'm happy with my seam, which I think I am, because if I open this up, look at that. That's going to be beautiful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim this outside part off. And then I'll take it over to the ironing board and I will iron my seams open back here, so that when they're open, I can just press them with the roller right now. But I want them to be open. And what that looks like is a complete rectangle, even though it never, it looks like it should be one piece, because I don't want anything sticking up here, if that makes sense. And I do want it to be 1/4 of an inch. I need from the intersection right there to the edge of my fabric 1/4 of an inch, because in a minute we're going to be sewing along that line. So anyhow, there you go. We're going to do, I think we're doing 5 of these all together. So take your time. Accuracy really does matter. So this is something that if you're not happy with it, take it out, try it again. Just be kind to yourself. Give yourself some grace. It'll take some time, but you'll be fine. When you're done, you're going to have 3 that look like this, and then you'll have 2 that are the exact mirror opposite. So they'll have the floral here and the solid here. So when you're done with all 5, make sure they're pressed open, and then we'll come back together. Well, here's a little tip that might help you as you're sewing your flying geese too. As I've positioned my piece, I've got it all lined up, and now what I want to do, instead of starting at the corner, I start here at in the middle of the block and sew down to the corner. But remember, staying to the just to the right, a whisker to the right of the line I drew, but then that really helps me make sure that when I come down that my corner is really clean. So let's see how that looks. Now, just kind of keep in mind, it's a little challenging to sew with a camera between you and your sewing machine. So just kind of understanding in case. Anyhow, so I line up my needle. I just have my presser foot up a little bit. The line in my presser foot is to the right of the line that I drew. I'm going to start, I don't sew pedal to the metal on any of this because that accuracy is going to be super, super important. Make sure my fabric doesn't move. It's not. It looks good. I'm taking my time. And as I get to that corner, it comes right out there. Perfect. Okay, let's try it again because, yeah, let me show you. This is a piece I accidentally drew three lines instead of the one I actually needed. Go figure. Hopefully I'll be the only one that does that so that you will learn from my goofiness. Okay, so I've got my fabric lined up. Raise my presser foot ever so slightly. Put the line on my, the center line on my presser foot to the right of the line I drew. And I start out. Yes, that looks pretty good. And the nice thing it does too is it helps you anchor your seam open on the back side. And as we come down, we come right off the corner. Perfect. Okay, I've just got one more to do, and I'll press them open and I'll meet you back over at the table. Well, hopefully that little sewing trick worked for you, and you took your time, and if you needed to, make a practice block just to be sure that you're comfortable with it. But in the end, it's going to be beautiful. We'll come back and use this block again when we're making the center part of the butterfly body. So I think that's the only other time that we'll visit that. But so let's talk about how we're going to piece this flying geese block together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of separate out my three. I'm going to actually take these and make, because I have the ones with the solids, I'm going to put them here. I'm going to kind of leave a little space, and then I'm going to put one of the floral with the corner floral there. So once I do it like that, can you kind of see the chevron look that it makes? Kind of cool, right? Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're gonna, you can start at the top or you can start at the bottom, whichever way works for you. I probably will start here because I kind of like to start at the top and work my, well, the top, the side, whatever. Start from my left and work to my right. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the second piece and I'm gonna turn it over onto the first piece. And I'm gonna sew a seam. And as I'm sewing my seam, I want to make sure, just like we've done on so many other seams, I want to make sure that as I'm sewing my accurate 1/4 inch seam, that I sink my needle right there, because I do want to save that point. It's going to be super important. Okay, so I'm going to do that there. And then since I can do a little chain piecing right now, I think I'll take this, my 3rd and 4th pieces, and I'll go ahead and flip that one right there like that. And when I'm sewing my 1/4 inch seam here on the right hand side, again, I'll sink my needle right there. So let me go do that. I don't think you need me to demonstrate that for you. We've done enough of this where we've sewn seams and tried really hard to save our point. So do the best you can to sew that accurate 1/4 inch seam, sink your needle in that intersection, and I'll meet you back here in just a sec. Okay, now that I've attached them, I did go ahead and press the seams, and now I'm ready to attach this 5th piece, which is the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and attach it there. And then once I've got that one done, I'll flip this piece over and attach it to, I'll have these 3 pieces sewn together, and I will flip this over and attach it to my first set of flying geese. So in the end, I will have this beautiful chevron. Oh my gosh, let's see how that looks. Okay, and now that I've pressed my seams, you can see that we have a beautiful chevron unit. We're going to need one for the left-hand side and one for the right-hand side. So, take your time, like I said, and don't worry, because see these points are over here? Those are our 1/4 inch. So once we start sewing the pieces together, we're going to sewing carefully over those as well. So don't worry that you're coming in a little bit here because, on the edges, because that's going to be our accurate 1/4 inch. So it's going to be gorgeous. So proud of you guys. Keep it going. This next block is super easy and kind of a nice little break from stress, considering I don't think the flying geese were too stressful, but they could have been. So anyhow, we're going to be doing the stripes just like we've done in past sections, where we'll do a solid and then a patterned fabric and a print fabric, and then a solid and a print, and then a solid and a print. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I don't think I'll piece them for you on camera, because I don't think that you need me to do that for you at this point, since you are oh so efficient. But I'm going to go ahead and chain piece these in partners, and then chain piece the whole thing, and then piece the whole thing together, and then I'll press my seams open and I'll have a complete unit. So that is what this next one's going to look like. Kind of a deep breath after those flying geese, right? And here we are. This is what it looks like when it's all pieced together. It's beautiful and somewhat so relaxing, don't you think? Okay, set your stripe aside and let's get ready for our last block. Our last block is the floating cross. So I'll take my large piece of fabric and I'll place it there in the middle. And then I'll add the 2 pieces to make it a cross above and below it. And then I have the 2 pieces on the side and also the another piece below the bottom of the cross and above the top of the cross. Okay, so we're good there. Then I have these squares, and the squares are going to come in and complete the block. Now, we've seen the floating cross before, so I don't think that this is anything that's going to be a surprise to you. Remember, and I'll probably just go ahead and piece this off camera as well, but I will go ahead and piece these together. I will go ahead and piece these together. Hold those out. And I'll piece this together. I'm going to kind of chain, I'll just kind of chain piece all of this together. Kind of move that off camera, sorry about that. Once that's done, then I'll open these 2 up and add the side pieces and then add the side pieces. We're going to do 2 of the floating crosses for our blocks. And then once that's done, literally the whole, all the pieces are done and it's time for us to start putting it together. So let's go piece it all together and come back and see what it looks like. And there it is. It's all done. A beautiful floating cross in an orange colorway. Kind of spectacular. Be sure that when you're done that you do go ahead and take a minute to square up your block because you do want it to be as accurate as it can be when you get ready to put everything together. So that is the last of our blocks. And now that we're done, it's time to start laying out the right side of our butterfly, section 5. Oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. We're going to skip to the right side like we always do and then do the mirror image in a few minutes. So I'm looking at page 17 at the bottom and I'm looking at the diagram for the right hand side. And so it has us starting off with a background piece of fabric. And then next to it, it has a couple of other of our background fabrics. So I have a square next to it and I have the large square. And then I have a rectangle. And then it looks like I've got several of my half square triangles. So let's take a look at what we're going to use. I think we're going to do the floral snapdragon, like that, yeah. And then a solid, oops, I only need 1, not 2. Solid snapdragon, okay. And then I think the next one, I think that's the correct orientation, comes down like that. And then begonia, yeah, I think that's correct. Nope, that's wrong. That's correct. There you go. Oops, I got it all messed up. Then I'll double check that before we're all said and done. And then I think I have a, let's see, I see a persimmon. Oh, and I need a square right there. That's just a blank square. Okay, that's fine. A persimmon and another persimmon. And then my last, I think that is the correct, arrangement. So if that's the correct one, then I'm going to then add next to that, I'm going to add my orange intersection block. Okay, so I think that's correct. Now, because I've run out of table space, I'm going to take this large piece of fabric and just kind of scooch it over, okay? So I'm going to move everything over. It's just kind of the way my camera situation is working here, you know, for me. So I've got the intersection. Oop, that's got to turn the other way, just like that. Okay, looks great. Okay, now, next to that, I'm going to have the stripe block. Interesting how those two touch. And then I have my flying geese, and the flying geese are going to be, and I'm going to kind of just take this piece and overlap it a little bit so that you can kind of get the idea. Okay, there's my flying geese, and my floating cross goes right there. And then, sorry, but no table space. And then last but not least, I'll have my yellow intersection all the way to the far left. So that should be the way it works. I'm gonna just double check my half square triangles to be sure that I've got that correct. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip over, and I am 99% sure that I've got it correct. That's correct, that's correct. I did a good job. Yes, I did. Okay, so we're in a good place. So now let's talk about how we're gonna piece this. So obviously, a couple things to keep in mind. And I've got my clips right here. I'm going to start with these two right here, because in a minute I'll come over to these guys. I'm going to start with these two, and I got an intersection here with my stripe and my floating cross and intersection there. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip that over and clip it, because I know that these two are going to go together. I will come back to the flying geese, because my flying geese are oriented flying to the right, with the points to the right. So, and then my yellow intersection. So I'm going to scooch those over there for a second. I really can't do anything with my orange intersection yet either, because I've got to take care of some stuff over here. So I'm going to kind of set my orange intersection aside. So far I'm not getting a lot sewn together, am I? But let's take a peek. Okay, I do for sure know I need to sew these together. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these. I'm going to flip the persimmon one down on top of the blossom, the half square triangle, and I'll pin or clip. Okay, I know that's going to go. I know that I can do these two. I can do the background square on top of the persimmon, so I can do that one. Let me clip that. That's going to be my seam. I know that I can do a couple things. I can, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I think I'm going to go take my Snapdragon Solid on top of my begonia and clip it. Yep. And take my Snapdragon Solid, or my Snapdragon Print onto my Snapdragon Solid. There you go. Okay, that goes there. I also know that I can do this Snapdragon Floral on top of my rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one down like that. Okay, so far, straight seams. So I will go ahead and I'm going to go sew all of these, press the seams open, and when I get back, we'll take a look at the next steps. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can figure this out now that I've got all the pieces back together. I know I clipped them together correctly. I'm going to start with the square. I'm going to skip the big piece of fabric that went right here for just a second, okay? I have the blossom and the persimmon. That's correct. And then they have the persimmon and the blank square that's sewn right there. I have, let's see, the dot fabric. That is correct. That looks good. Okay, and then I have, oh yeah, look at that. As if I was so smart. Now there's a gap there because I've got some seam allowances I've got to take care of. Not a problem. Okay, now I'm going to take my, let's see, my stripe block is going to come here. That's correct. And I'm going to, next to it, nope, take that back. This is going to come next to all of that. And then next to that will be my stripe, but it is not. Oh, you know why? Because I had it turned like this, and it should have been turned like this, because what's going to happen, let me move these out of the way for just a sec. I like the order of that. So what's going to happen is this is going to go here. Yes. Okay. That makes sense. And then right below it is the flying geese. So the flying geese need to get added to this piece so that I can sew this unit to this unit. Got it. Okay, so let's see. That one, I've got intersections here, and here. So because this one I want to save the points, I'm going to go ahead and flip this piece up like that, and I'm going to go ahead and clip it because I know I need that one to get done like that. Okay, got it. Now, this piece I'm just going to set aside for a sec, and I'm going to come back to all of these. Yes. Okay. So let's take a peek. What can I sew together to have fewer units? I can do this. I think I will sew this half square unit over here to the square. Okay, I'm going to clip that. That looks good. Okay, put that there. Now, I'm going to come here. I can't do anything with this yet because this has to all get sewn together before I can sew it onto there. So we're gonna have to do, it looks like we're gonna do 2 hang pins, doesn't it? Because it looks like we have a hang pin here and a hang pin here. So let me go grab some pins, and we're gonna sit down and talk about hang pin again. It's been a couple months since we visited this, so we're okay, right? We're okay to do this again. So let's think about this. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, I guess I'll start with these 2. So I'll come back to this one in just a sec. So I'm gonna slide it out of the way. And I'm gonna slide this one out of the way because we'll come back to it. We're gonna concentrate on these 2, correct? Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and it doesn't matter which one I fold, the top unit or the bottom unit, because it's just the same. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna fold that down on top of the top set down on the second set, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a straight pin, and let's just review that. The straight pin is then gonna go right inside that intersection right there. It kind of like if this was a Y, like, you know, the letter Y, maybe it was a backwards Y, but there's a Y. I'm gonna sink that pin right in that intersection right there, okay? And when I do it, I want it to go in straight up and down. I don't want it to be at a slant, you know, in any direction. Okay, so I want it to go straight and up and down, right in that point. So I don't want to block your vision. And then when I check on it on the front side, you can see that the pin went right in at the very, very top. Correct? All right. So now what I do is I take that same pin and I'm going to go right inside the top of that Y right there. And then I basically then am going to line all this up, and you can see that this 1/4 inch seam was maybe a little off. And that's, you know, it happens, right? It does. So how do we fix that, right? So I think one of the most important things right now is to remember that I want to make sure I save that point. It's great to have flush seams. That's great to make sure that they're equal, but I want to make sure that I don't lose those points. I've worked really hard for them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a clip right there so that I know that I've got, that's where it's going to be. That's where my important hang pin is. And then I'm going to take another straight pin and I'm going to come in on the left side, and I'm going to come in on the right side. Now you might be tempted to just say, okay, well, if it's just, I'm off that much, I'm just going to make the whole seam off. But I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't just kind of just gently work that fabric up, just kind of have it be okay to work its way up. Let me come back and look at this one a little bit, because I guess I want to start in that corner, and then it's kind of going to be a little bit of a, it's going to be off a little bit, but I'm not going to let it be off a lot. So I'm just going to kind of work that up a little bit. Not a problem. Not a problem. Okay. And now when I go to sew this, now I can go ahead and take this hang pin out now because I've got the clip here. The clip isn't required, but I kind of like it because I feel like it just gives it a little bit more stability as I'm sewing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sewing machine. I'm going to come down. That's the 1/4 inch. I'm going to, as I come, I'll take the first pin out. Then as I get to the, this will obviously be out. As I come down, I'll take the first pin out. Then as I get closer to the clip, I'll go ahead and remove the clip. That is a 1/4 inch. I was just a little bit shy right there. That's okay, it happens. I'll sink my needle there. Then I'll do a couple steps past that, just a couple stitches, and then I can remove this. This pin is basically just to stabilize the fabric so that it doesn't move while I'm getting ready to sew. So I hope that makes sense to you. But it is just super important that when you're doing hang pin, that you make sure that when you insert the pin, it's right at the very point of that Y. And if you look on the opposite side, that you can see that it is at the very, very top of the Y. And then the same thing happens here on this one. And then I'm just going to make sure that the pin doesn't go left, right, whatever, that it is literally just straight up and down. I just use the clip for my own security, I guess, as I would say. Then I just use that one pin to the left, and then the one pin after I get my fabric straightened out, and then one pin to the right. And then once I've got it secure, it's fine to go ahead and take the hang pin out and go sew. Okay, so we'll go sew this seam, and like I said, I will make my fabric. It's just a little bit off right there, so it's not going to be the end of the world, but I want to sink my needle there, and I just want to kind of finesse my fabric a little bit. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I think it'll all work out in the end. We'll see, but I think it'll be okay. So that's what I'm going to do right here. So I'm going to go sew the other two pieces I had plus this one with the hang pin, and when we come back, we'll take a look and see how it went. I've got my pieces all pressed, and while I was a little embarrassed embarrassed to admit to you that my seam was a little shy on that one point right there, I'm actually glad it happened, because I wanted to be able to talk to you about it. If something like that were to happen to you, which it could, if it did, what do you do? And I just do the best I can. I'm not going to tell you it's perfect, but I am pleased that that intersection worked out just fine. So I'm going to leave it like that. I want to come back now and take a look at how the rest of my fabric is fitting together. So let's take a look. I have this piece that's going to go right here with my Snapdragon print. I have this one right down here, and I have this one right here. So I still need to now come back and do another hang pin to put these two together so that I can sew this set of 6 onto this right hand block over here. So I've got another hang pin that I've got to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this one up. It doesn't matter if I sew from the top or the bottom at this point because it's a hang pin, but I'm going to go ahead and clip it and probably sew with the smaller pieced side up. I'll slip this to the side and this to the side. Okay, so I've got that one to take care of. Now this is after I have pieced together the stripe, the floating cross, and my flying geese. Okay, and my flying geese are positioned the correct direction. And now I want to add this beautiful intersection block here. I've got an intersection here, a second one, a third one, a fourth one. Oh, and look right there. I've got, I don't know if it's a hang pin. I mean, I'm going to have to look at that because I don't want to lose that point. I don't think, no, it's not a hang pin. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm going to flip this piece over, and then I'll just make sure that I sink my needle there. So I don't have to do a hang pin there. But I do have other intersections to be cautious of. So make sure I sink my needle here at that point. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 additional intersections. So I'm going to flip the flying geese block on top of my intersection block and clip so that I know that that's what needs to get sewn together. So let's go take care of those 2 blocks. Now you can see I've got my orange intersection block attached to my floating cross, stripes, and flying geese. So that's pretty great. That looks awesome. But it's time to come back to my half square triangle. So let's take a look at that half square triangle unit. So I have my, I need to have my other Snapdragon floral. So that's going to go right there because it's Snapdragon floral, then this 2 solids next to the begonia, and then this one comes down here. So before I can attach all of that, I need to go ahead and I think my best plan is to flip this Snapdragon floral over onto the larger unit. I do have another hang pin because I have an intersection here and an intersection there. So I will have to do a hang pin here. No problem. We got this, and you know the rule. If you have to sew it more than 3 times, you just need to leave it alone. Okay, when I'm done with that, then I can piece this on here, and I won't have I won't have to worry about a hang pin on this one because it's just the triangle attached to, or the half square triangle attached to that unit. So that's good. So I have that to sew. So let me scooch that down, and then let's come back down to the very, very end. Don't you wish I had a bigger table? And now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the yellow intersection to the rest of our larger blocks. So let's take a look at what we might have to worry about over on this side. So I am thinking I have this intersection to be concerned with, that intersection, and that intersection. That's actually not really too bad, right? No hang pin there because it's just making sure that I'm going to not miss that point. So what I need to do, I guess, when I sew this together is this piece will need to get flipped over onto this smaller piece so that I don't miss that point right there. But that's no big deal. We can do that. Okay. So just for sake of making sure I know what seam goes where, I'm going to just fold that over and put a clip so that when I go to the machine, I know that these two get sewn together. So I've got 2 to do, and I've got a couple pieces out here still waiting to get sewn on. So let's go take care of these 2. One hang pin, one with a hang pin, one without. And this is what it looks like now that I have my yellow intersection sewn to my floating cross and my flying geese and stripes. And then I have my orange intersection. So that's a nice, beautiful piece, right? It's gorgeous. Do you kind of feel like we're running a marathon right now? It's coming to an end soon, friends. I promise you. On this right-hand side, it's coming to an end. So let's take a look at what we have left, okay? Because we still have a couple pieces left over, over here on the right-hand side of our block. So let's take a peek. We've got our definite half square triangles right there. That looks great. We've got another set of half square triangles that we're going to add down here at the bottom. And then last but not least, we have this piece that's going to get added all the way over here on the far right-hand side. So let's think about how we're going to do this. So all I think I want to do on this one is flip the this bottom half square triangle unit up onto this one so that when I sew it, I don't miss that intersection. So I'll clip that. And really and truly, I think that's all I can do, because until this is done, I can't attach it to this intersection, and I certainly can't attach my background piece. So I'm going to go do that, and then we'll be so much closer. Come on, we're coming around the curve on this marathon. Don't give up on me now. You got this. Okay, friends, I think that was the last hang pin for this side of the butterfly quilt. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew this half square triangle section over here onto my orange intersection. So I have intersections to be concerned with. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, not hard. I think all I'm going to do is just flip this piece over onto the larger section and sew my 1/4 inch seam, and just being really careful that I match my seams, and that as I'm sewing, I'm kind of lifting and peeking and making sure my seams match and that I'm hitting that 1/4 inch. I think overall, I think that's pretty straightforward. Once I'm done with that, then I'll have the whole piece together, and I'll sew my last piece of the background fabric over here on the right-hand side. And once that's done, I've got the whole right side done, and I think it's time to go take a break and walk the dogs or go do something, because we have a little bit more of our marathon to go, because now that you know how this is going to go, we'll be ready for the next half. But let's go, first things first, let's go take care of this, and then we'll come back. And here is our beautiful right side of the Tula Pink Butterfly Quilt. Now, I'm not an athlete, but if I was, I would say I feel like I may have just competed or completed a half marathon, and that is okay. So I have half of the section 5 done, and I am pleased as punch. I think overall everything came out beautiful. I'm very, very happy. And what's so interesting is this whole piece is the exact same width as sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you have completed a half marathon, and you are a rock star. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start thinking about laying out all the other pieces. And I think what I'll do is I'll probably just start on this half with the intersection block and the half square triangles, because that seems to be the part that is the most not most challenging, I guess. It's the most detailed. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to lay those out. So I'll grab my pieces, and then we'll go from there as we get ready to do the left-hand side and start the second half of the marathon. Okay, so I've got my pieces, And I'm going to go ahead and lay some out here. So let's go ahead and do the intersection block, because that's an easy one. I know exactly where that one's going. And I have my large piece of my background fabric, and that's easy because I know where that one's going. Then I have some, let's start looking at the half square triangles. And we do this every time we do a block. We just kind of lay them out and make sure that they are directionally matching the exact one that's underneath them. So they're headed in the right direction, then we're all ready to go. So that looks good. And it's just going to be, I'm going to do the exact same thing on this half of the block as I did on the original half. So I'm just going to take my time. Again, normally in a marathon, it's kind of a race, right? But we're not in a race. We are just sewing. We're sewing with friends. So we're taking our time. It is not a race. Let me grab some other pieces here. I got that piece that goes there. I have this piece that goes here. And then I have this piece that goes here. So we're not in a race. It's a non-competitive marathon today. So here we go. We are going to work this section, and then we'll go down and add the other pieces to the left. And I think that will be fairly easy. If I had a larger table, I could show you more. But let's be honest, you know, we are make-do people, and we do the best we can. So here we go. And I'm going to start working on this. I don't know. I'll come back after I've got all this piece together, and then we'll work on the second half, okay? I've got this whole piece taken care of now. So I've got the intersection plus all my half square triangles and my border piece. So I'm going to slide that under here. And let's take a look at what we have left that we want to lay out, okay? So I have my stripe block. I'm going to lay it right there. It looks great. I have my floating cross. That looks really great right there. Now I'm going to look at my I want to look at the flying geese, because I want to make sure that my flying geese are flying in the same direction as the ones underneath them. So that is correct. So all I'm going to do is just flip that up. That looks amazing. And now I'll have my last piece, which is my yellow intersection block. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and piece these together, and then I'll go ahead and add that to the original. And then I should be finished with the left side of my section 5 for the butterfly quilt. Yep, we're doing great. Keep it up. You're rounding that corner on your marathon. It's, you know, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm getting tired, but we're going to make it, don't you think? So here is the completed left side of section 5 for our butterfly quilt. So yeah, we are so close now to finishing. I'm pretty pleased, I'll be honest with you. I think it is amazing, and it is long, and you are going to be so proud of yourself when you get this done. I'm just telling you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the left-hand side of my butterfly section 5. I'm going to leave it here on the table, and I'm going to go get my section 5 off my design wall, or section 1 through 4 off my design wall, and we're going to talk about how to put this together. But I can already tell you that on this section, at least on the left hand side, I think I might have a hang pin here, and I think I might have a hang pin here. So we've got a couple places right here that look like it could be without even having anything on here. But let me go grab that section, and then we'll take a peek and see what it's going to look like, okay? Okay, so it's a little scrunched up here, but I think you'll get the idea. So I'm on the left-hand side. Up here is section 1 through 4. And then down here is the section I just completed. So I'm going to start by lining up my left-hand selvage all the way over there. I'm going to line that up, which means then that I am going to have a hang pin here. But then that's the only place, because that's going to get sewn. I think I'm good there. So far, I'm thinking this piece is going to get flipped on top of the larger piece. But let's take a look. So I'm going to kind of just keep moving it down and unfolding it as I go. I've got several seams I want to match, and I think you can see where they are. I've got one right here. No, that's not it. One right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and as I keep coming down, Then I'll have 6, 7, 8, right there, 9, 10, okay, 11, we're up for this, 11. And keep moving over. 12, 13, 14. That's not too bad. 1 hang pin and 14 intersections, okay? So let's go sew these together. And I think I'm right. I think it is the right thing to do to take section 5 and flip it up on top of sections 1 through 4, because I think that will help us get the best over here for our 1 hang pin that we need to get right there. So I'm going to flip section 5 up, and we're going to pin like crazy people, and we're going to get this done. I'm thinking this is pretty. Don't you just love this? Just this color. Isn't it just fun? Okay. So flip my fabric up. I'm going to put my hang pin right there, which I know. I'm going to do that. And I'm thinking if I do that, that means that I'm sewing with the smaller piece of fabric underneath, which I don't think is really a problem. But I've got more fabric no, they're kind of equal. I think I'm going to go ahead and sew with the larger piece of fabric on top and just have my fabric 5 underneath, and just be really, really careful as I sew. So I'll start on the left-hand side and work my way through my hang pin, and then all the way through my other 14 matching intersections. So we've got this. Once I'm done with this one, I'm going to press my seams open. And then after I've done that, then I'll go ahead and do the right side. So I think take a break if you need to. See what you need to do, and then just sit down and be patient with yourself, and just take your time. It is not, we're so close to the edge, we're so close to the finish line that we don't want to rush. So take your time and we'll get there. And here is section 5 on my design wall. Oh my goodness, that's the left-hand side, and it looks really beautiful. I hope that you have not struggled. I hope that it's been a fairly easy sew, just 14 intersections and a hang pin, but you got this. Okay, that's the left-hand side. Now I'm on to the right-hand side. And just like that, our marathon is over, and we have completed section 5. It looks so beautiful. I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more proud of us for completing such amazing work. Guys, I'm so pleased. I hope you had a good time making this. Take a break, because next month, chapter 6 will be similar. We're going to make another long strip. So we're kind of like ramping up, and we'll hit chapter 6, and then we'll kind of come back down again. It's not going to be near as intense. So I hope you had fun. I did. I really had a good time, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. So I'll see you then. Bye.